live on now, Cam? On YouTube? I gotta get off. Bye. All right, Cam. I'm gonna see you tomorrow, cousin. I'm not gonna lie. I'm lost, chat. I'm lost. I don't even know what's going on. Am I live on here too? Chat. Chat. I'm lost. Yo. Why can't y'all see it? Oh. Yo. Why can't y'all see it? Whoa. No. Oh. Chat. No, I did not get it. It's just anime. All right, so okay, go back now. Now can y'all see it? Can it stop? Yo, can it stop having this thing at the top? Damn, bitch. Fuck. Oh, that's tough. Oh shit, chat. Oh, my mic mad loud on here though. I don't like how my mic is mad loud on there though. Like my shit too loud. Oh, there we go. There we go. I wish I could have my camera on. Chat, what think I gotta do? Think if I do this? Something like that. Like, and then I go here and turn it on. It's still not. Yo, chat, I'm about to like. It's still not letting me. Chat, I'm about to I'm about to pull my pants down on camera. Chat, I'm in a loss for words right now. Oh, and that's how you maximize it. The fuck is this? No, I need this. It's whatever. Oh, wait, so now how do I read the wait, so how do I read how do I read their chat? Let me see. Let me try to cook something up real quick. Oh, I can see it on there. But y'all can see it too, my dumb ass. See, but y'all can't see the chat. It's whatever. I don't really care. Okay, now chat. Now I can go here. I'm about to cook. I'm about to grow both of them. Pause. I'm about to grow both channels at the same time. Chat, my pizza probably getting cold because of y'all, bruh. Oh my god. Hold on, let me put these on for y'all real quick. My shit probably cold as hell.
Wix is your platform to perform on.
Just 2 years ago, towards the end of middle school, seemed like a vicious prank, only to then be put in the claws of death itself, all because of one night.
Back,
But
chat.
my memory of it has been clouded by the rot of time. This is all I can remember.
My fault.
It was
here.
a
Hold on.
Wednesday night, deep into late autumn. Abby and I were having yet another sleepover, not wanting to be alone on the night of the party. The party was announced earlier that day at school, and the most popular girl in school, Sharna, was the one who had set it up. However, we were never usually invited, being cast out from most groups at school for being nobodies. We were constantly shouted at in the corridors, being called weird, ugly, dorks, you name it, we were called it. All we had was each other. All until that very same evening when we both got a text from Sharna inviting us to her party at the local carnival. Wild with excitement, we both jumped up, crying with joy as we scrambled to find some outfits. Oh my God, Sarah, can you believe it? Abby was rolling about on the floor, happiness glowing from her eyes. This is our chance, Abby. We can finally move past our old selves. We aren't losers anymore. Neither of us knew Sharna's or anyone else's real intentions behind that invite. We discovered afterwards that Sharna and her friends had been bored that night and decided to invite the two of us for a prank. Sharna's brother was dressed up as a clown as he worked at the carnival, and so the group decided to try and scare Abby and me, recording it for the whole school to see. Naively, we departed our house just 10 minutes after Sharna's invite. We should never have left. We arrived shortly after leaving, witnessing the carnival in all its wonder and excitement. The crowd was bustling with life and movement as the rides shone brightly in the background. There was a clamor of joy and an air of smiles as we walked through it, searching for Sharna. After around 5 or 10 minutes of looking, my eyes were set on Sharna. She was giggling with her other friends. They were standing outside the mirror maze. But as Abby and I approached, and Sharna saw us, she quickly shushed the others around her, now applying a fake smile to her face. Hi, you two. She smiled and waved at us as we arrived at the group. Abby and I were far too nervous to speak. This was practically a fever dream for us. Sharna did not stop smiling. A single droplet of sweat rolled down her face. She was holding her composure. We're playing Truth or Dare. Want in? It would be awesome to have you play. She noticeably shuddered after saying that. But we ignored it. This was our chance. Sure, Abby and I spoke in unison. Sharna openly let out a giggle, triggering the others around her to do the same. I dare you to go into the mirror maze. She broke down, cackling on the floor. All her friends joined her immediately after. Abby and I looked at each other with puzzled expressions. It didn't seem like that big a deal, so we agreed. All right then, head on in. Sharna sat back up, trying with all her might to compose herself, holding her phone tightly in her right hand. She again started smiling, only the smile was hollow. As Abby and I entered the mirror maze, we heard the sound of laughter roaring in the background. We were stupefied. Why was it so funny? We wandered around for a bit, quite amazed by the sheer volume of reflections and warped versions of ourselves. It was like there were hundreds of us. Every now and again, we'd let out a small chuckle as one of us collided with a mirror. But after one instance of a collision, whilst I was helping Abby back up, Our eyes grew wide with terror as we were now staring into the eyes of a clown. The clown had just appeared almost out of nowhere. It was carrying a knife that seemed to be dripping with fresh blood. Its gums were pulled back too, revealing a sharp set of moldy teeth. There was blood on those too. It stared at us, its grin widening. Drool had begun leaking from its jaws. I turned to Abby. Run. Suddenly, the clown exploded into motion, charging towards us. We darted away, crashing into mirror after mirror. As we journeyed through the maze, we began noticing blood splatters on the wall. The clown seemed to multiply. We had no idea which one was the real thing, if there even was a real thing. Soon enough, however, we finally emerged from the mirror maze, landing onto our stomachs on the wet floor below. We were surrounded by a group of cackling hyenas, with Sharna at the reins, holding a phone pointed at us. The flash was on. It was recording. Abby and I lay on the floor together, tears flooding from our eyes. We were distraught and mortified, and now humiliated too. You guys look like such babies, Sharna cackled. Suddenly, the noise all stopped, as the sound of Sharna's brother became clear, coming from behind the mirror maze.
Hey, Sharna! Where are those kids you were talking about? I don't really want to stay in there much longer. There's a load of fake blood and fake corpses scattered everywhere.
All at once, every single one of our faces, except her brother's, turned back around, facing the entrance of the mirror maze. Standing there, knife pointed at us, was the clown. An eruption of screams followed from all the kids as the clown stampeded towards us. It launched the knife in our direction, impaling itself into Sharna's leg. Sharna wailed in agony, dropping to the ground, clutching her leg tightly. Her brother was charging towards the clown. Seeing him coming, it gave us a smile, a wicked grin, and returned into the mirror maze, Sharna's brother following closely behind. Later that week, after we had all returned home and while Sharna left for the hospital, we witnessed a report on the news come out, addressing the horrors we were subjected to on that dreadful night. It was discovered by the police that the man who had been carrying the knife didn't work there, and that several other bodies were found scattered all throughout the mirror maze, stabbed to death, many with chunks of flesh having been ripped straight off their bones,
I did got some L
with
mans.
teeth marks being left in their wake. The clown in question was
My own
pursued
friends
by
gonna say no,
Sharna's
they want to
brother
download the
until it jumped the fence that stood between the woods and the carnival. It vanished into the thick of the forest, leaving the knife still in Sharna's leg as the only link to the killer's identity. The video of Abby and I crying was never released, and Sharna never came back to school.
Yo, they're calling me dumb like I
Maybe
know
it
what
was
I'm
deserved.
talking about. All I said was make
But
it-
yesterday,
Well, I'm about to make them
now
account.
starting
Watch.
senior year, Abby and I saw Sharna. Her leg had been amputated, and she was glaring at us both from across the corridor. Something tells me she doesn't blame the clown, but instead, she blames us. And I think she wants revenge.
Is this an ad? Oh, hell nah.
With all pro
My friend Maddie and I always used to love the annual carnival in our hometown. We were just teenagers at the time, but the both of us had been going there every year since we were 10. It would have continued that way too, if it wasn't for him. I lived in the far end of the town, opposite to Maddie's, whereas she practically lived next door. This meant at the end of the night, I would always have to trek back through the miles of cars sat waiting in the parking lot until I eventually found my parents. If only we had parked closer. At the start of the last carnival, Maddie and I met up within just 5 minutes of me arriving, regardless of the crowds of thousands whirling about the place like an ocean of chaos. Oh my God, Tara, how are you? Maddie ran up to me the moment we locked eyes and hugged me tightly. I'm so great, Maddie. I've missed you. It's been a whole month since school ended now. I hugged her back even tighter. Struggling for breath, we released each other and started giggling with anticipation for the night ahead. Are you ready? Maddie started to jump about, her blood vessels pumping with adrenaline. Of course I was cut off by the sound of my phone ringing. I swiftly took it out my pocket to see who was calling me. Who's that? She asked as she stopped jumping, leaning in. No clue. It says no caller ID. Who cares? Just answer it. She grabbed my phone and pressed the accept button. Snatching it back from her, we giggled and pressed the speaker button. Maddie and I kept listening for about 30 seconds, waiting for some kind of voice to follow, but nothing. Only the sound of heavy breathing and the distant noises of rides and screams coming from the distance. We looked at one another. Our eyes were filled with utter confusion, and the noises had planted a seed of unease within us both. Unnerved, I hung up. Who was that? Maddie asked. Her eyes bubbled a little with anxiety. I looked at her, shaking my head to indicate I had no clue, and then twisted my neck down at the phone screen. There was another call coming through. Again, no caller ID. This time, I decided to turn my phone on silent and hide it away. Come on, we should get going. The carnival isn't open all night. I tried to reassure Maddie that everything was fine and that we should enjoy the rest of our night. One call didn't deserve to ruin it. She smiled nervously, but soon enough, we were back in action, dancing around, hopping on ride after ride until our stomachs felt sick with adrenaline and excitement. The entire night, I could feel my phone buzzing, but I wouldn't dare tell Maddie. She was as terrified as it was. I didn't need to make matters any worse. Eventually, we grew tired of the nightly thrills and the soaring heights of the carnival rides. After grabbing some food, which consisted of 2 hot dogs and 1 cotton candy, we hugged each other goodbye, signaling the end of our adventure together that night. But it wasn't the end of mine. As we parted, I began to walk towards the car park, which was just a few minutes on the other side of the food stands. As I wandered, I pulled out my phone and realized my dad had been calling me. But to my utter horror, as I went to accept the call from my dad suddenly ended and was replaced by no caller ID. It was too late. The breathing was back. This time, however, before I hung up again, I could hear the sounds of the carnival echoing through the phone. The breathing, too, had grown in volume, sounding far more grotesque. I could even make out the dripping sound of drool. In an instant, I hung up again, but this time, I found the no caller ID number, finally blocking it. For a moment, I felt relieved. So much so that at once I could feel my veins throbbing with joy after a wonderful evening out with my friend. I continued on my journey back to the car. Once at the edge of the carnival, I started across the vast expanses of the car park before me. A feeling of dread suddenly lurched over me. I knew where my parents were, as we parked in the same spot every single time I came to the carnival. Only this time, the walk to the other side felt so much longer. Breathing in, I took my first step into the great abyss of cars in front of me and began weaving my way through, row by row, gradually making my way towards my parents, towards safety. I had been walking for around 5 minutes when I went to check my phone. I switched it on, checking that there were no more calls coming through. To my delight, there were none. But to my horror, there was still breathing. This time, the breathing was real. I swiveled my head around and locked eyes with a man dressed in a black hoodie, the hood dangling over his eyes, revealing only his grin. He was staring at me from the other side of a car. My blood abruptly infused with an overwhelming surge of fear as I backed away. My parents weren't far away. I had to run. Suddenly, the man burst to life, sprinting at me from around the front of the car. In response, I dashed away, swerving past cars, screaming for help. The carnival hadn't yet even, so there was nobody else in the car park. That meant that if my parents were sat waiting where they usually were, this creep would catch up to me. And then who knows what. But as I hurled myself past the final row of cars, I saw them. I was saved. I shrieked for them to help me, causing them to look up. At first, confused. But the instant they saw me being chased, my dad's eyes visibly burned with rage as he burst out of the car, charging towards the man behind me, who I saw was now running, approaching him fast. As for my mom, I ran into her arms, squeezing her tightly as tears flooded down my flushed cheeks and panting mouth. I heard the sound of a body being flung into the car, then collapsing to the floor. I swiveled around to see my dad stood over the creep's unconscious body, with some blood pouring out from his head. Later on, once the police had arrived, we had discovered, after lifting the man's hood back, that it was actually one of my dad's friends. That explained how he had my number. We were appalled to hear the next week that he had been planning this for over a month after he came around to ours for dinner. He didn't seem all that dangerous then. To this day, I wonder what made him change. Yet at the same time, I despise him.
I've never
I
seen such
messaged
L
Maddie
mans.
explaining what happened after the police report was filed. I told her I'd never return to the carnival again. If it was really that easy, who knows who could do the same.
Chat, I'm blo- Oh, it's the ad?
The night was still young, the moon barely visible in the sky. Dancers with torches ran past me, screaming and singing as they beckoned people to join in. The procession was already several miles long.
They're talking about some
I've never
merch.
seen it get this big. Let's go! Em, my sister, grabbed me by the hand towards the dancers. I shook my head first. It was way too busy. I felt weird about dancing with people I didn't know like this, too. And there was something else going on, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Are you a chicken or what? Em stuck her tongue out, and I rolled my eyes, allowing her to line me up behind her friends, who were cheering loudly.
Dumb.
It was fun, really.
Oh, we gotta follow?
We pranced through town,
Yeah.
singing, drinking. Honestly, it's been a while since I let go like that. But then,
Give me
something
three.
changed. The procession wasn't heading towards the city hall like it was supposed to, but somewhere out of town. That, in itself, admittedly, didn't feel like such a big deal. It was easy to see why people wouldn't want to stop and dance for just a bit longer. The music, the loud singing from people, it was all exhilarating. Still, somehow, I felt uneasiness sneak into my chest. I grabbed Em by the hand just as she nearly slipped away from me. She was dancing around a teen roughly her age, one of the original dancers who wore a fancy costume and fun markings on her cheeks. Stay close to me, Em. She was pretty, all right, but I didn't feel comfortable being separated from my sister, not by her or anyone. Why are you being such a spoilsport? Em pouted up at me. She was breathing heavily, her voice a bit raspy already from having too much fun. I shrugged, but then I motioned for the dancers. They were starting to separate themselves from the rest of the crowd. Looks like they're gonna do another performance or something. You don't want to be stuck there without knowing the choreography, do you? It was just an excuse, of course. I had absolutely no idea if I was right or wrong. However, it made sense to me at that time. It took my sister a few seconds to answer. She looked almost a bit dazed, eyes still set on the dancer from before. I had to admit, I understood why she was so mesmerized. Just like all the others in the dance troupe, the girl was gorgeous. And well, she was also moving in a near hypnotizing manner. No, I wouldn't want that to happen. I ruffled my sister's hair lovingly, tugging her along as we headed down empty streets. We were almost out of the suburbs by then, headed straight for the woods. The air was much warmer than I'd expected it to be, almost too heated. I wanted a little bit more of it, admittedly. It was suffocating being so close to so many people for more than a few minutes, after all. I noticed my chest tightening just as I was pushed into a tall man from behind. I was being too slow. He didn't react, and neither did the person behind me. It was as if they didn't even notice that they were squishing me between each other. It took me a solid minute to wrangle myself out of my makeshift prison. "You okay?" Em asked, worry shining in her eyes. I nodded quickly, but motioned to the side of the crowd where it wasn't as thick. "Want to just leave for a sec? I need to breathe a bit. We can join back in right after." That time around, I was the one led by Emmy. She was used to it by then, I believe. My asthma liked to act up when it least needed to, after all. Still, it took us a few minutes to wrangle our bodies through the dancers. It was a bit bizarre, almost. I'd been to many concerts before, and the crowd was always, at least a bit more understanding. Sure, it was a bit different from dancing constantly and moving forward than just watching a show, but still. Once we were a bit outside of the procession, I could finally breathe. I felt lightheaded, almost drunk on the music and people, but I snapped out of it quickly as I took a few puffs of my inhaler. My lungs were still a bit too tight. "Want to head back soon?" Em asked, staring straight ahead of her. There was something a bit odd about the way her gaze never left the dancer from before. She craned her neck further and further as the girl danced past us. She was in the front row completely with the rest of her group. Only then did I realize that we were somehow all standing in the cemetery. Wait, how did we get here without me realizing it? I felt a lot more lucid as I shook my head, looking around in order to try and see if anyone else but me cared. Hundreds of people were still singing and dancing around. They seemed to be pretty much ignoring our new location. Perhaps they'd known already? Still. Just as Em started tugging me back into the head of the dancing mass of people, I heard it. A man cleared his throat. He was standing on top of a grave, short but somehow intimidating. Like the dancers, he wore gold effortlessly.
My children, I thank thee for bringing me so many new souls. Our father, the banished son, will be so glad to hear of your good deeds on the day of...
Only as he talked on and on, did
It's okay, baby. It's okay. It's okay.
My fault, chat, an ad? But no, bitch.
it finally dawn on me. The people still swaying to the rhythm of music we couldn't even hear anymore. We're just enjoying the vibe of the procession. "We're trapped," I hissed, reaching out to grab my sister by the arm. But she wasn't there. Em, what the heck, where are you?" She didn't respond. It took me a whole minute, and it felt much longer to locate her. She was once more around the girl from before, laughing, dancing around her as if she hadn't heard the man. She probably hadn't. I swallowed hard. My sister seemed lost, her eyes empty, lips constantly moving as if she was chanting something. I started to hear it from others too, their quiet words quickly morphing into something much louder. My focus was solely on Em, though. I felt so scared. After all, it seems like I could slip away, but only without her. I was the only one still somewhat lucid. Everyone around us seemed far too gone. But why? It took me a moment to realize. My earplugs! I'd worn them to the carnival to be able to hear my own thoughts, since I was quite sensitive to sound. Perhaps for some reason, they were blocking out whatever was causing others to lose their minds. I had to choose. Try and get Em, but likely fail, or get away. I ran. I didn't look back a single time, not when someone started chasing me, not when I could hear them catch up with me. I wanted more time to think of a plan, to figure out a way to save her.
Nothing even happened in the shit.
That never came.
Nothing
They
even
dragged
happened.
me back, laughing. The words that meant nothing to me slipped off their lips, sticky like honey and yet filled with poison. The music picked up again. There was laughter,
Like-
singing, dancing, and then a bright flash of light. Everything
Oh my God,
around
it's
us ceased to exist right after. It was all but darkness and pain. So much pain.
Like Billy got a long neck.
My name is Squidward, and I hate my life. Nothing ever changes. I'm thinking of killing myself. But before I kill myself, I want to kill the
I'll give more
people
than
I
Dave.
hate.
Bored. It's easy to want something or anything to happen, just so life can be a little more exciting. I made that wish once, and it came true. But now I'd rather wish I hadn't. I would much prefer a whole day spent doing nothing over what happened in 2020. Me and my friends were using the Randonautica app, which generates random coordinates in a set area. The whole point is to go there and find out what happens. We set the app to pick locations anywhere in the city of Seattle, but the first pin it put down wasn't far away at all. In fact, as soon as we saw it on the map, we all knew where it was. It was the Alki Beach Pier, which since we lived in the neighborhood right off that beach, we'd all been to it plenty of times. It was close by, and it had always been fun in the past. So we agreed with the app and drove to go check it out. All we were doing was hanging out and getting up to stuff, and we had all day, so we could start with something chill like the pier. It was better than sitting at home, or so we thought. At first glance, everything seemed normal for Alki Beach at the time, although a lot less people were out than usual, but that made it even nicer, honestly. It almost felt like we were the only people there, like everybody was completely turning their backs on this beautiful day and we were the only ones outside appreciating it. But then, not long after we got there, I saw something in the rocks beneath the pier. I pointed out to everyone immediately, not realizing that it was anything more than litter at the time.
Hey guys, look, a suitcase. What?
I'm back.
Look,
Fully.
see? What the heck? Who would leave that here? It probably washed up. I mean, who takes their luggage to the beach? Well, who throws their luggage overboard off a ferry?
All right. There we go. Y'all can hear every little like thing. Where's Oh no, why does it look like that? Oh no. We cannot stream this on here, bitch. Fuck no. I should have just seen that. That was terrible.